Which is better, the LG Stylo 6 or the LG Stylo 5? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and welcome to my LG Stylo 6 versus LG Stylo 5 comparison video. Now the LG Stylo 6 is very new. This phone was just launched at Boost Mobile. Now I am expecting it to make its way over to a variety of other carriers as well, in addition to being offered factory unlocked. Now as soon as it is available unlocked, I will be updating the link in the video description to where you can check that out. And you can currently buy the LG Stylo 5 from a bunch of different carriers, and you can get it unlocked as well. So due to all the different places where you can get the devices, including different carrier deals and all of that, it's really hard for me to pinpoint an exact price for either of these two phones. So like I said, take a look at the links in the video description and you'll be able to see what they're currently being offered at there. Now the LG Stylo 6, as you can probably tell already, features an entirely new design compared to the LG Stylo 5. And that's a great thing to see because the LG Stylo 5 is basically the same exact phone as the LG Stylo 4. So LG did go back to the drawing board. They created a brand new fresh design for the Stylo 6. And in addition to that, there's a variety of other improvements as well. Now, taking a look at the displays on the two devices, that first difference is very obvious here. With the LG Stylo 6, we're getting a significantly larger display. So the Stylo 6 has a 6.8-inch display, compared to the Stylo 5, which has a 6.2-inch display. So you can see, holding the two displays with the bottoms of them level, you're getting way more screen real estate with the Stylo 6. Now I know that someone's going to mention it in the comments that the Stylo 5 is brighter than the Stylo 6, and that's because the display is just brighter in general. I have both phones cranked up to 100% brightness, as you can see here with the Stylo 6, and as you can see here with the Stylo 5, but despite that, the Stylo 5 is way brighter. So in my opinion, the Stylo 5 actually has a better quality display panel compared to the Stylo 6. And that's very interesting, especially since both phones feature IPS LCD display technology. Now both devices also feature 1080p as the display resolution. We're getting a PPI of 395 with the LG Stylo 6, compared to a PPI of 392 with the LG Stylo 5. And with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting a 20.5:9 aspect ratio compared to an 18:9 aspect ratio with the LG Stylo 5. So certainly a more narrow but taller form factor with the LG Stylo 6 compared to the Stylo 5. Another difference is that with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting an 82.5% screen-to-body ratio, compared to 79.8% with the Stylo 5. Now that's not extremely different, but it is a little bit different. Another difference is that with the LG Stylo 6, we are getting a water drop at the top of the device as the notch, whereas the Stylo 5 does not have a notch at all. And then on the bottom, we are getting a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel with the Stylo 5 compared to the Stylo 6, but the bezel on the bottom of the Stylo 6 certainly still is larger than the bezels on the sides. Now up top here with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting a 13 megapixel front-facing camera compared to just 5 megapixels with the LG Stylo 5. Now definitely stay tuned for my full review video of the LG Stylo 6 to see photo and video samples from the phone. Now I am going to be doing a dedicated camera comparison video between these two devices because there's enough content to include in that to make its own video versus including it in this one. So be on the lookout for that video. Now the LG Stylo 6 features 64 gigabytes of internal storage compared to the LG Stylo 5, which has half of that at 32 gigs. Now both phones do feature microSD card expansion, which is awesome. Now neither of these two devices feature wireless charging. They do both feature fingerprint sensors on the back. We'll try that out first with the Stylo 6. That's very fast and responsive. Now we'll try it out with the Stylo 5. That was very fast too. So I am happy with the responsiveness of those fingerprint sensors. Now with the LG Stylo 6, we just have the fingerprint sensor for the biometrics, whereas with the LG Stylo 5, we have both the fingerprint and facial recognition. So LG did remove the facial recognition feature with the LG Stylo 6. I'm not sure what the reason is for that. I have noticed that this has been happening with a lot of other Android devices as well. For example, the Moto G stylus also does not have face unlock. So I don't know exactly the reason for that, but it does seem like the budget phone industry has been moving towards the direction of dropping that feature. So the Stylo 6 is not alone when it comes to not having facial recognition. Now, taking a look at the backside of the two devices, we have the cameras. Now, there is a very big difference between the camera modules with these two phones. Now, with the LG Stylo 6, we have a triple camera setup with a 13 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera. Whereas with the LG Stylo 5, we just have one 13 megapixel main rear camera, and that's it. And to make things even worse for the LG Stylo 5, there is no portrait mode. So it is cool that we are getting portrait mode with the Stylo 6 with both the front and rear cameras. I do have to mention though that with the Stylo 5, we do have portrait mode with the front camera. So really weird with this phone that we only get it with the front and not the rear. And you really don't even need to have a depth sensing camera to get portrait mode. That's been proven by a variety of different devices, including the Google Pixel 3a, but I'm glad that we do get rear portrait mode with the LG Stylo 6. Now, both phones feature 3 gigabytes of RAM, and with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting the MediaTek Helio P35, and with the LG Stylo 5, we're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450. Now, just because the LG Stylo 5 has a Qualcomm processor does not mean that it's a good processor. In fact, the 450 is not that good. So it's one of the lowest end processors from Qualcomm, and for a good reason. So I am glad to see that LG has moved away from the 450 with the LG Stylo 6. And I know that MediaTek doesn't always have the best reputation out there, but their Helio line of processors are actually quite good. So I don't mind seeing the P35. I already mentioned that in my hands-on video with the phone that I feel like having the MediaTek Helio P35 is pretty fair with the Stylo 6 considering the price tag of the phone. So no complaints there. Now I did run a benchmark test with both phones, and you can see here that with the LG Stylo 6, I got an overall score of 105,537 compared to a score of 82,711 with the LG Stylo 5. So not a huge difference here, but still a bit of a difference. This is also a good opportunity to compare side by side the quality of the displays here. You can see how much darker the display is on the LG Stylo 6 when put up next to the LG Stylo 5. If you do have the Stylo 5 right now and you're considering upgrading to the Stylo 6, I do kind of feel bad for you in the sense that the display is a bit of a downgrade. But on the other hand, you are getting a larger display here, so I suppose that has some value as well. So would it have been nice to see a even more powerful processor than the MediaTek Helio P35? Yes, definitely. That's for sure. But, you know, any improvement is better than no improvement, so I'll give LG credit for that. Now with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting a beefy 4,000 milliamp hour internal battery compared to a slightly smaller battery of 3,500 milliamp hours with the LG Stylo 5. So cool to see that we are getting a bigger battery. Now with the LG Stylo 6, we're getting Android 10, and with the LG Stylo 5, we still have Android 9 Pie. But if history repeats itself, we will be getting an update eventually, sometime, hopefully by the end of this year, with the Stylo 5 so that we can get Android 10. Now the reason why I'm expecting this is because the LG Stylo 4, which originally had Android 8 Oreo, now does have Android 9 Pie. Now LG took forever to deploy that update to the Stylo 4, and I'm expecting that they'll take forever to deploy the update to the Stylo 5 as well. Now both phones do feature NFC. I'm really glad that they both do have that because NFC is kind of hard to find nowadays with a budget smartphone. But those are the main specifications of these two devices. I'm really curious to know what you think. Do you think that the upgrades that we're getting with the LG Stylo 6 are worth it? I certainly personally do. I think that there's a lot of things here, especially getting twice the amount of storage. That is very nice to see here, and I'm really happy about the larger display as well. So I'm especially happy to see those two improvements. Now taking a closer look at the hardware here. Taking a look at the left side of the two phones. On both devices, we have the volume button, and with the LG Stylo 6, we have the Google Assistant button. And then also both phones feature the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Now without a doubt, the LG Stylo 5 has metal running around the sides of it. But with the LG Stylo 6, I'm not completely sure what this material is. it kind of feels like metal, but on the other hand, it kind of feels like plastic as well. So it's kind of like a metallic finish. So if I do find out exactly what this material is, then I will pin it in the comments section below. I know that sounds ridiculous that I can't tell if this is metal or plastic, but it really is kind of like a hybrid between the two. So due to that, like I'm saying, my gut instinct makes me think that it is plastic, but I don't want to tell you 100% for sure. All I know is that the material is perfectly fine. I'm happy with it. So if it's not metal, I don't mind that. See, one of the reasons why I am suspecting this is plastic is because you can see with the Stylo 5, we have these little inserts in between the metal pieces, which is for the Wi-Fi bands, I believe. So since there are no inserts with the Stylo 6, that would lead me to believe that this entire band is made out of plastic. Now, taking a look at the top of the two devices, they both have noise-canceling microphones. And then on the bottom, they both have the stylus, they both have the speaker, they both have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer, they both have the microphone, and they both have the 3.5mm headphone jack. Now, one of the biggest differences though with these styluses is that with the Stylo 6, we have this pop out and pop in stylus, whereas with the Stylo 5, you kind of just have to pull the stylus out. There's no sort of clicky action here. It doesn't feature that pop in, pop out style, so that's certainly an improvement with the Stylo 6. In addition to that, you can see that the stylus from the Stylo 6 certainly is more premium looking. It's slightly bigger as well. One similarity though is that the tips at the end look to be exactly the same. And then on the back of the two phones, there's definitely a very big difference here. Of course, we're getting a totally different designed camera module, but also the LG Stylo 6 just looks a lot fancier on the back. It looks a lot more premium compared to the Stylo 5, which features a pretty boring plastic material here. Now, both materials are plastic, so I definitely want to make sure you're aware of that, but I just feel like overall, the Stylo 6 does look more fancy and more premium. Let's now do a speed test comparison between these two phones. So we're going to start by pulling up the camera app on both devices. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the Stylo 5 is a little bit quicker at pulling up the camera. Next, let's pull up Google Chrome. So 1, 2, 3, go. And the Stylo 5 is quicker at showing content on Google Chrome, but not by much. Let's now go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. Stylo 5 is quicker at pulling up Yahoo. Let's go to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like, ooh, that's kind of hard to tell. It looks like the Stylo 6 is quicker at pulling up Engadget because the ad showed up first. So another thing to keep in mind here is how much more content you can see in the frame with the Stylo 6 compared to the Stylo 5. And that's mostly due to it having that 20:9 aspect ratio. So having that aspect ratio will allow you to fit more of your social media feed into one frame here. And despite the larger display with the Stylo 6, this photo is the same size on both phones. In fact, the two devices have the same exact width, or at least a very similar width, so that's interesting as well. Scrolling is decently smooth on both phones, so that's nice. However, you can see, especially at this angle, how much darker the display on the LG Stylo 6 looks. And again, here's your reminder that both phones are set at 100% brightness. Let's go to this article right now. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like about the same with both devices. Maybe a little bit quicker on the Stylo 5 because I noticed the ad came up first. And I don't even know where there's the ad on the Stylo 6. I would say overall, these phones are very similar in speed, at least from that test there. I know that in several instances there, the Stylo 5 appeared to be faster than the Stylo 6, but really the differences are very small. So my final conclusion about that is that you should expect to get pretty much equal performance. Now, I think if LG had given the Stylo 6 4 gigs of RAM instead of 3 gigs of RAM, we would have gotten much better performance with the phone. So like I mentioned, I'd like to do more comparison videos between these two phones, like a dedicated photo comparison. So let me know if you want to see that as well. But in conclusion, which phone is better? Well, I would say definitely the Stylo 6 has more modern features compared to the Stylo 5. I would say from a performance perspective, the two phones are pretty close to equal, and the display brightness is better with the Stylo 5. But beyond that, everything is better with the Stylo 6. I think the Stylo 6 looks nicer. It has a better form factor in my opinion. I'm a fan of the 20.5:9. I know not everyone is, but I like that. And I'm especially glad that we're getting way more camera features with the Stylo 6. Of course, getting twice the amount of internal storage is really nice as well. Maybe for some people, it might also be disappointing that there's no face unlock with the Stylo 6, which we have with the Stylo 5. But in general, the Stylo 6 is an improvement over the Stylo 5. But I'm definitely curious to know what you think about these two devices and which one you would pick, or maybe you wouldn't even pick either of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, let me know what other videos you'd like to see me make about the LG Stylo 6. Definitely curious to know your thoughts. But this is Kevin here. This is the LG Stylo 6 versus the LG Stylo 5, and I will see you in the next video.